Welcome to Changing Suits. We're your hosts, Bao
and Taj, discussing the latest news, views, and general life for us Western Asians.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Bao.
And my name's Taj.
Can I just say, just as I press record, I forgot what we were recording for a second. Had one of those moments. Okay, so today, as Taj does her usual stalking on social media,
and I'm proud.
And you should be, Taj, very proud of your. I mean, this is how we've got this far, to be fair, because you're stalking. We came across, and you know, we always like talking about a number of subjects, taboo subjects, or sometimes really saying, oh my God, we have fantastic people within our community. And today we are going to go with we have fantastic people in our community. So today we have the first Formula One driver, and I say is already there because I'm already envisioning it. You're going to be there. Seren Singh Sukhi with us. Now, the reason we've got Seren on today is to explain his journey into race driving. I think that's what you call it. Seren can let us know in a second. And tell us really what his parents said and how much they told him off before he got into it. So without further ado, Seren, could you introduce yourself, please?
So hello to all the fan base. My name is Seren Singh Sukhi, and I'm going to be the world's first Sikh Formula One driver.
Damn right you will. And tell me, so Seren, firstly, can I ask, you look very young, which is always a brilliant compliment, I hope. How old are you?
I am 21 years old, turning 22.
And tell me, what's your past? Let's go for that first. So you're a mere 21 years old, going on to 22. Whereabouts do you live? What's your family situation? So are your parents from this country or did they come from abroad? Where are we?
So my dad originates from Kenya and my mum originates from London. So two completely different places for a start. And so I was born in Bristol and my older sister, was born in London. And we're just four hardworking people trying to get somewhere in life. My dad's into his careers and logistics side of things. Mum's into a baking business. My sister's a event manager, and then there's me who's trying to race cars for a living.
See, you know, when I saw your profile on Instagram, my first thing was, oh my God, why is he doing that?
Okay,
but then I felt proud.
Don't speak to you. She must have been happy because she spoke really loud there. The bars just went really high there. Go on, sorry, Taj.
But I felt really proud that there's someone from the South Asian community doing this and aspiring to be the first Formula One driver. And we know you'll get there. How did you start the journey? As in, what got you interested in becoming a Formula One driver?
So it started off when I was young. I used to play with little toy cars pretty much every day, and then I got into the police force, like seeing the police cars drive fast. So that was when the first bit of adrenaline from watching it on TV occurred, and then pretty much a few years later, my parents put me through pretty much all types of sports that you can name, and I would like it up to a certain extent. And then eventually I didn't like it because I got bored too quickly. Then we went onto a family holiday in Cyprus, which was in 2011, 2012. And we literally came out from a water park and I saw a go-kart track and I was like, Dad, let's go there. And I was like, fine. And that's
do you know there's go-kart tracks in England as well? Just to let you know, they're just not. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh, Cyprus was a thing.
So went to the karting track, and that was when pretty much mum, dad, and sister just saw a whole different person from where I was. I was actually in flip-flops, shorts, and in a damaged biker hat thing. So that was when my dad, mainly my dad, because he's been into Formula One for years, and that was when he noticed he's going to be an expensive child.
And do you know what? That's a question that I'm going to have later, but we'll go on to the cost of it later because I am interested in this whole side of it as well. So, out of interest, you said that one thing with us is I've got kids of my own, and you're right. We go through this thing. It's like we need to put them through everything because now second generation parents that we need our kids to be brilliant at everything. What got you so bored of the other things that you were doing, so rugby and all the other sports that you were going through?
It was purely because I just lost the interest and I didn't find it fun. That even though rugby was fun because like when I was smaller, I was like a bit of a like chunky kid, so I was more of like in the scrums and like a forward. So I was good at it, but I just got bored of it,
Yeah.
and mainly that I didn't get the ball too much, so it lost a lot of interest back then. So yeah, it was mainly just losing the interest and just not finding it fun after a certain level of
What's the
time.
thrill of driving racing cars? Might be a bit of a silly question, but what is the thrill of it?
This, it's hard to actually like explain the thrill because you gotta. It's a type of thing where you gotta be there to actually see it. So for me, actually starting from putting on my race gear, it's like the all types of emotions start like pounding in the head. Like it's like the excitement, the happiness, the what's gonna happen type thing. But the main thing as a driver, it's to be calm about it. But being a driver, it's a surreal feeling. That it's a feeling that can't really be described. You gotta actually see it to get somewhat of it.
So when you're in Cyprus at the go-kart place, whatever you call them,
Yeah.
and your dad saw that this was what made you happy, did he actually realize it from there, or was it later on where you're like, actually, I'm going to carry on going go-karting and trying going on, or was it straight away? Did you fall in love with this sport?
So
You
it
did.
was yeah. So like I fell in love with it from as soon as I like stepped foot in it. But since
Mm.
like my family's all like race like enthusiasts, we never thought of it of actually doing it ourselves. It was only when we actually did it that's when we all realized that how about we actually try it for ourselves and see how it goes.
Why do you say that you didn't consider it for yourselves?
It was just the like it's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling where we watch it on TV all the time, but thinking, oh, like it'll be good, like it'll be good to do it. It'll be good to watch it. But then actually, like, because we all did the karting like thing for like half an hour to an hour, and we all got the thrill of it. But when my family saw the different character that emerged from the holiday, they thought, let's see where we can actually put him in a go kart. Like obviously back in the UK, like when we got back. So it was like it's a feeling where it just came like where we was all talking, and my dad was like, "How about we find a kart track and see what you do there?" It was a brought up a topic of conversation.
And how did your wider family and close friends, what did they take? Were they encouraging as well, or was there a bit of, oh my God, what are you doing?
So what a family I won't get into. The main family, like personally, is me, mom, dad, and sister. The
Yeah.
we're the four, like the little tank, right? So it's a little the like family of four. Um, so obviously my mom was like she had to go into something to do with speed and adrenaline and something that's dangerous. um, and my sister said to me, just go for it. And well, dad did this type of smile where he thought, okay, I'll never actually think my son would be a driver. So we went, and then when family got in the karting days when we actually owned a go kart ourselves, me and dad maintained it in the garage like every day. I used to come up from school. I used to work on it with him, clean the engines, clean the whole frame of the car, stickers, everything. Family would be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, that's cool." It was only when we started into single seaters 3 years ago that's when they actually mind my language. They went, "Oh shit." Like he's actually going
Serious.
into yeah, like it's not just a like it never was a hobby, but I don't know what it is, but they didn't expect us to actually move forward that far into actually going into F3, for instance.
Do you think because it was almost like something that was out of reach, or could it be that you didn't see anyone of color racing?
Like aside from Lewis Hamilton, I knew like there was a chance, but
Mm.
when we kind of entered it, it was the way the motorsport game changed was so when I was probably 4 or 5, and like Jenson Button, Hamilton, they were all
Mm.
kids. They all got scouted like from an
Yeah.
F1 team, and they brought them up. But nowadays, it's all about money. So which I remember, like we're going to talk about it in a little bit.
So when you say they got scouted, because I was looking at a video that you sent earlier, and you were 11 years old when I'm assuming
Yeah.
you went in Cyprus and you got into it. How old would Lewis Hamilton and those other people be? Would it be at roughly the same age, or does it start a lot younger, like a lot of sports do?
So Hamilton, for instance, got scouted by McLaren when he was 12. So I think that was way before even I was born.
Mm.
So like times were different back then, where he was a quick driver, no doubt, and Ron Dennis, who was head of McLaren at that time, scouted him, and they took him from where he was 12 when he was 12, and obviously being a 7-time world champion. So like times were probably different from the way motorsport was compared to what it is now.
And is it still the same process that you still get scouted and then?
There is the scouting process is still around. Let's say like with Ferrari, they've got the FDA, the Ferrari Driver Academy. They've got Red Bull, which is the Red Bull Junior Academy. So it is still there, but it's more on the kind of money side of things rather than raw talent.
What do you mean by the money? Yeah, what do you mean about the money side of things?
So let's just say that with an F3 test that we do ourselves. So it's pretty much me and my family that fund the testing at the moment, which is why that we're looking for like multiple investors to help us.
Yeah.
To take it up there. So an F3 test would be about £5,000-6,000 for the day. And that's equivalent
to
that's what we're paying.
For 1 day for a test.
About 2-3 hours off of track time throughout the day.
So that was for 1 day, £5,000. Yep. That's an investment.
Yeah. That's what Wi-Fi networks.
But the thing is, I think this is it. Any sport that you go into, it's going to cost money to get you to a level where you're going to. And we are a bit shocked at it, but that shows your dedication of saying, well, actually, this is what I want to do, and that's it, regardless of XYZ, regardless of what people were thinking and the expectations and the cost of it. That's what I want. And that's pretty inspiring in itself, right?
Yeah, and the dedication of your parents to back this up. Because if it was just like a whim,
I believe so.
You'd be like, no, let's not invest that much. But they actually genuinely saw that this was something that you want to do, which is amazing at such a young age. And it has to be at a young age because you have to start your career early, don't you, as a driver?
Yeah. So with these like top drivers at the moment who are currently in F1, they started karting when they were about 7, 8, maybe even 6. So when I started at 11, it was kind of late-ish into it, but we're still managing with what we've got. So with how far I've got now, especially with my family backing me, because the main thing that my dad said to me is if he didn't believe I could do it, he wouldn't have invested this far to where we are now.
How does that make you feel in the fact that your dad has said that?
So I'm kind of a calm guy. So I don't really react to things that
you're like, whatever, Dad.
Because
just pull out the money.
It's because like the way I'm gonna try and explain it is I don't see what they see as a driver. Like for me as a driver, I just do my job. Like putting it very bluntly, I do my job, and whatever they see is down to their eyes. So when they say like, Sarah, you've done a wicked job, like you beat your time like by 3-4 attempts that lap, I'm thinking, I don't see that. I just do my thing, and when I come back, then I know how well I've performed. So, yeah.
Okay, so on that point, this is really interesting because when you see it on TV, and we're going to go into that sort of side of it, you sort of see the little
Yep.
screen that the drivers can see. So do you not see a time on there then? It's just
So
driving.
on the actual steering wheel, there is an option to see our times, but with how I set up my steering wheel is I have pretty much the oil pressure, fuel pressure, brake bias. So I don't actually have the time recorder setting on it, because I've known this from experience that as soon as I've seen a time, I'm going to try and beat that time, which is a good thing. But then I get into this phase of over trying, so then I'll end up going backwards.
I like that you've identified what will almost like a trigger, and you've deleted it out, and you're like, no, I don't need this. I'm going to do well, but I don't need the timer there. And that's brilliant in itself, to be honest, that you've identified that. Now,
is that how all racing drivers work? Do you tend to have the same sort of thought process? Or
every driver's different. From what I've seen on F1, from who I've actually like done practice with, like they all got their own thing which works for them. Like some drivers, they may have the timing on because they like it. Some of them they may just even have so back in karting there were drivers which actually used a bit of tape to cover the lap timer, so they wouldn't even see it. They would only see the engine temperature to know whether the engine's going to overheat or if it's too cold. So there are different ways that drivers approach their mojo, as I would say.
And when you're in the seat, what are you thinking about?
Aside from the fact that the window's so small, I don't understand how you can see out of it, to be fair.
So when I first step foot in the car, I forget everything. Like anything outside the car is not relevant to what I'm about to do. So I blank out everything. Like even if people try and talk to me, I may even I don't even look at them. I just focus. Literally, I look straight ahead, like out to the track or to the pit wall.
Are you in the zone, you could say?
Yeah, it's in the zone where it's a kind of out of body experience where as soon as I start getting strapped into the car, like when the mechanic's actually strapping me in, it goes dead quiet and I'm literally hearing my own heartbeat. And then that's when I start to do it's called Zen breathing, where I control the heart rate to bring it down. Because I'm like, right, game on. And then when the visor goes down, I flip the switch to go, turn on the car. Then it's show's on.
Okay, so on that point, so you're doing the breathing to calm your heart rate down. So that's really interesting, because you'd think with race car driving, your adrenaline is high. So do race car drivers do the opposite, where you have to do that reduction of your heartbeat to be more effective?
So I think from what I've seen from most drivers, they listen to music beforehand, or they just do something just to just keep their head clean. Because if something's on your mind, then that already affects your performance already. Even before you sat in the car, it's already gonna degrade your performance if you're overthinking about something. It could be a simple thing, but with me, it's especially that I listen to I'm into my Star Wars, for instance, right? This is going to be embarrassing. So I listen to Star Wars music.
We're not editing this bit out.
Oh no! Please don't.
Oh no, I'm not. The Star Wars fans are going to be listening in then. Go on, sorry.
Yep. So I listen to some specific themes where it starts to get me into the zone, especially with a specific character which is on my phone case, especially because I relate to him in some sort of way. So it's his type of theme music or battle theme music which just starts to get me into the zone where when my dad sees my face and he goes, yep, okay, he's in the zone.
Now it's in my head as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and I see mom, and mom's holding her hands as if she hopes that everything goes all right. My sister's there holding my dad's holding my dad's arm, thinking that's my little brother who's literally about to do this. They see me put my balaclava on, the helmet, the gloves. And
how do you so on that point, only because you brought it up, how does your mum feel about it? Because we as mothers, we can just only imagine. But what she said about the whole journey about it?
She goes that all she wants me to do is do something that makes me happy. And and she's not gonna like step foot into, like, she wants to be there obviously, but she's not gonna like stop me from what I love doing. So like she's all for it, but as soon as she puts the helmet on, she looks away because she's like, I can't watch.
Does she watch?
So
Does she watch the whole race though?
yep, she's been there in like karting days and everything. Like she's seen me like in karting accidents like that were out of my control. So she's seen me like there was a speaking of that, there was an incident where I got taken out on my first race and it actually put me unconscious.
Oh my god!
And
Me and Belle's
so
jaws have dropped here. Yeah.
yep, so from a parent's and my sister's perspective, when the smoke cleared, like they see their kids
So what
like
happened?
head just drop.
What happened with that one though? In that race?
So so that's when my motivation even kicked in. So despite me having a knee injury, I still went to my dad and said, will I be racing in the next round? So there were
Wow.
about 5 guys fixing my car, which was in the weirdest shape I could imagine. And we got it ready for the final. And I went from 20th to 2nd in the final.
Wow, that's amazing.
Even after my injury and being unconscious for about 2-3 minutes.
So what caused the accident though?
So another driver hit me from behind and I went straight into the tires.
Okay, so you're unconscious for how long?
2 minutes.
Okay, and so what happens during that 2 minutes? How did your mum feel about that? I mean, that's the worst fear, especially if it was your first race, right?
Yeah. So I actually woke up from my mum actually screaming. I could hear it.
Oh god.
So that's when she just saw my head like kind of knock back up, and like dad's like, right, he's walking. Sister's relieved, and like mum's in tears.
And your dad's like,
And-
he's walking, get on with it.
Yeah, literally. Like I'm walking, like I don't know how it happened, but my racing boot was missing somewhere. So I was walking like limping, and when I got back to the pits, I was like, will I be racing in the next race, which is within an hour? When I did, I still raced.
I'm
despite what
sorry,
happened.
but your parents are amazing. Credit to them.
Yeah, had that been me, if I was your mum, I'd be like, okay, that's enough. You're
God,
done.
Ada.
Yeah.
Bethera
Yeah.
ho gaya. So I was going to say, so you need to thank your mum, really. I mean, she still let you get back in.
Yeah, she still says like to my friends, for instance, or even to my sister, she goes, I don't know how he does it.
And do you know that's what it is? As a parent, you want your child to be happy, and they see that this is what makes you happy. And I like the way you explained how you look after your mental health in this, how
Yeah.
the Zen and you control your breathing, and that is what looking after your mental health is about, is identifying what causes you to, I don't know, have your heart beat faster, and then calming yourself down. So
Yeah.
that is good at age 21.
But then are you trained for that as well? Because I'm assuming all drivers go through the same thing where you need to
So
reduce that.
I've actually trained myself to do that. I haven't had anyone to actually influence me. So I've taught myself about mentality, and mainly just through life itself, with like some scenarios that happened in the past and etc. etc. So I've learned myself to just be calm and just take it, because like it is what it is, and things happen for a reason, good or bad. And I know the feeling of not being calm and like losing my head, like, and it's not a like best feeling, especially like through karting days as well, where like I'll blow a fit just because something wasn't right, and then my dad would be like, don't talk to me, just cool off.
Mm.
And I'll go for 5 minutes and I'll come back, and then I would say like, sorry dad, and then he'd be like, yeah, sorry that I yelled at you too. Then we'll come back together again and we'll fix the problem and we go better.
That's the joy of family, isn't it? They have to listen to it.
Oh yeah. Like through karting days especially, it was always me and my dad. So even if we were with a team, I would always say to the team boss or whatever, I'd be like, dad's on the spanners, I'm the driver still. So it was always me and dad throughout everything. That's been even now.
And the days before your races, is there any routine or ritual, would I say, that you go through, like having a quiet day, making sure you don't eat? I don't think it was so much a matter about eating. I don't know. Is there something a process that you go through?
So there's this one particular video which I actually use. I'm gonna search it up because I can't remember the name of it. It's this type of meditation video which I listen to every night, and it's called Guided Kirtan Meditation Sas Simro.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
listened to that as well.
Yeah, so I use that. Like I've used it recently, and I've always just, especially like the day before the race or test day, I just do the minimum, like, just go for a jog just to keep my like body relaxed, muscles relaxed.
Okay, so this was
Have
one of
a-
my questions. So from your video, because you're
Yes.
obviously exercising in the video,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with other sports, I get it. Like with football and tennis or whatever, you need to be doing running and all these other. Do you need to do the same thing for racing, or is it the fact that you're trying to calm yourself down and that's why you're doing that exercise?
So my training routine helps in my mentality. So then again, the Star Wars music comes back into it, and I listen to motivational speeches from like Denzel Washington, Kobe Bryant, some like motivational speakers in general. So what they say is that I relate to it in some sort of way. So like my training routines is like quite intense. Like it's mainly circuit training for about 2 hours, and it's just pretty much breaking boundaries each thing that I do. So when I start to feel like, right, I'm gonna collapse or my muscles are aching, that's when the music helps me kicks me into like seventh gear and goes, right, you run that extra half a mile and you won't regret it.
But then, do you not think that's amazing? And this applies to any sport or any exercise, even someone that's not into sport is doing. It's amazing what your body can do as long as your mind sort
Yeah,
of gets through it.
I would say in like day-to-day life, mentality is underrated. Like in that sense, because if your head isn't there, then like, not trying to be harsh, but you're not going to get far.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So my racing side, which is like I say my second character, that because racing has such a massive impact on even on my daily life, that is, for me, it's racing or nothing. So I want to be a racing driver, otherwise like I won't be happy with what I've got. So I won't rest until I pretty much get there.
Okay,
That makes sense.
and this brings me quite nicely onto something that we've discussed on the podcast before, and it's the fact that in our generation, and we're going to split our generations because you are a bit young, not that much younger to be fair, but I feel like we're from two different generations,
Yeah.
only a few years. But basically, our parents pretty much said, look, do the usual thing, medicine, law, and accountancy, the usual stuff, right?
I heard that.
And you know what I'm going to say next. Whereas your parents have obviously given you the opportunity to say, well, okay, you don't need to do that, and you can go for race driving. And obviously, we'll talk about the fact that you're doing your degree as well and the impact of that. But did you ever feel any pressure that you should go and do those Asian sort of degrees and go down that path?
From the way my parents saw is, they weren't forceful that I have to be this or I have to be that. They just said to me and my sister, like my sister's 10 years older than me. They just said to both of us that all we want you to do is whatever you study or go into, just study hard for it, no matter what it is. So I'd say that we're lucky to have that sort of freedom that we can actually choose of what we want. So let's say, like I said, like my sister, she's a business event manager, and that's what she loves most. And I'm into my racing, mom's into baking, dad's into his like careers and logistics wise. And ironically, they all somehow connect to one. Like they all will somehow link together eventually. So I'd say I'm kind of lucky that my parents were kind of relaxed on that side of things, but they emphasized enough that, but whatever you choose, like study hard for it.
And talking about studying, what are you studying?
So I'm studying motorsport engineering.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But do a lot of race drivers do that as well? So do they tend to know a lot about? I'm assuming your degree is very technical about the car and engineering, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, but do a lot of race car drivers do that, or is it pretty much just get through the race and it's not very technical?
From my knowledge of drivers alone, so there's one driver which I look up to especially, which is Sebastian Vettel, and from what I done my research on, he actually done a degree while racing, as well as another driver, Kimi Räikkönen, who's now retired. He done his degree as well while racing. The other drivers I'm not so sure of, but from my eyes and from what my dad gave insight, he goes that since you're studying a degree, for whatever race team you go to, and if they ever, for whatever reason, look up your CV, they're going to look at your CV and go, right, he's done a degree, so he knows what he's talking about.
And there's the Asian mentality, because you're like, stupid, just do your degree.
Yeah.
How do you balance studying and doing your race driving?
So during the week, it's full on uni work, and then if I get an hour or two at the end of the day, it's when I'm like sending emails, organizing meetings, and etc. And plus, like, I get up around 5:30, 6 in the morning to go to the gym as well. So my day starts from 5 and doesn't end till 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. So it's quite packed because, like I said it to my friends before, that I'm effectively doing 2 careers at once. And then how I'm coping is beyond myself, but I'm somehow doing it. And then again, it comes down to mentality and how you cope with scenarios. And then on weekends, uni work is shut off, and that's when I fully focus more on racing stuff, like throughout the day, but not too intense because I want to relax as well, because I got to rest. Rest is also key.
To be honest, when we started this podcast, I didn't think that we were going to talk about mental health so much.
Yeah.
But it is amazing how important it is in what you do. And it is all to do with mind over matter, getting through that.
Just on the other side of it. Now, like we said earlier, our podcast is very much based on how the South Asian community break through barriers, cultural barriers, and so on and so forth. How have you found being in racing? Have you had any racism, for example? That's a question I want to ask.
It's interesting because we've had that pretty much since I won my first championship back in 2013. We've had that, like, racism stuff. Like, it got that bad that I would even be targeted on track. So I've lost many wins from being taken out just because people don't like me of my color. And we would get a lot of abuse, and we would get picked on just because I overtook someone, for instance. The person would go, oh, he's cheating. And then the whole paddock would go on to me and my dad, and we would go, you can check it, but it's legal. So when we were naturally quick, I'll get picked on. When we called quits on, like, the karting chapter, it was when I lost the championship because of racial abuse.
Okay, can I just say I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought we were gonna.
No, people, yeah.
Okay. So let's go back into the fact that you've done it. You've had racism right from the start, and this is going to, I suppose, be a large part of this podcast.
Yep.
What did it? So it came down to color.
We didn't see it because we thought, oh, like, racing is all like good people around, and they were good people. But then we realized, I reckon, too late down the karting chapter, is whenever we were slow, like, because we were struggling for whatever reason, they would be all friendly, like, have a laugh and etc. As soon as we became quick and a front runner, the whole atmosphere changed.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
It was purely because whichever racetrack we raced at, like, surprisingly, me and my dad, we were the only Asians racing. Even from, like, little cadets who are like 5-6-year-olds to up to adults who are in their 70s and 80s, me and dad were the only Asians. There were no other Asians racing.
Do you think it was the fear of a little Asian kid taking over this white game? Did it feel like that?
We didn't really see it like that because we just wanted to, like, win, like, as every driver wants to. But when we saw it from a different perspective and how harsh it, reality is, unfortunately, and no matter how much we got, like, shunted off into the tires, like, this borderline almost disqualified for something that we didn't even do, it was degrading us a little bit, but we still were winning against these people, and we're proving a point.
So was the racism coming from other race drivers, or was it coming from I'm going to call it the authority, the referees, or the people, if you were getting disqualified for things that
It wasn't like they weren't saying like anything like bad, but we could just tell, like,
Underlying, which is the worst.
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Mm.
It like it's a weird thing that they don't say it, but they show it.
Yeah.
So there was this one incident where I almost won the race, got to the last lap, and I got taken out. My whole car was battered, like side pod was up, engine radiator was falling off, liquid was on the floor, and just a little basic car knowledge. So obviously, on top of the engines, there's a little spark plug like this big.
I know that. Go on, carry on, Siren, and go on, carry on.
I was trying to I know everything.
Yeah,
about
I'm only
cars.
just basic. So there was a time where the spark plug cracked because the car literally flattened the spark plug, and
Now that's a problem for the engine because you need a spark for the engine to work. I know the basics.
And and then we tried, and the scrutineer said, "Oh, like you got a dodgy spark plug," and we said, "How? You can't even see it because it's cracked. You can't even read what it says." So it was like just stupid stuff like that, really.
So then what you're saying is the people that were at the top and the authorities of a race were also being racist then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so like the most basic thing is if I got whacked off, nothing would have gone, like nothing was done. But if I do like some little, we call it the love tap, where we just tap to someone just to make them know, like, I'm here, then they would crucify me for something so simple.
What was the impact on you? How did that affect you, yourself and your dad, who was going along supporting you?
So because of all the incidents that were happening, obviously the expenses were higher than like we would have wanted. For me, it was just a tough day. Like I would say tough day at the office. Then it got to a point where it was tough day every weekend. So, and then the expenses for dad got too much, for both of us, where on the last race of, I think it was 2020, like mid 2017, where my dad literally said that as much as you love it, but this is getting this is getting out of hand. So,
and did that
did
the expenses come from the effects of the racism then? And how is that?
Yeah, the way it kind of came across is that racism came across in different ways, which was why like other drivers would literally damage my car just so I couldn't race.
Okay.
So it's a weird thing to kind of explain because it's a thing where like you could just tell.
That's the thing with the racism. You can't pinpoint it. You know it,
No.
but you can't pinpoint it, and that's what messes with you psychologically because you know it's happening, but to explain it, it's difficult to explain it.
Yeah, it's yeah. Like speaking of like mental health again, because since racing means so much to me, that when karting stopped, my mentality dropped drastically because I thought I wasn't actually going to race again. So my mentality dropped. I stopped training, everything, put on weight and etc. It was only 2019 where dad came to me and he goes, "We're actually going to a racetrack and you're actually going to be meeting a Formula 3 team." And that day my mentality just came back. So like that's how much kind of racing has impacted on my life in particular.
So are you saying that the racism caused you to stop racing then?
Yeah, it was purely not because like we didn't lose the love for racing, it was just other people ruining it for us. Like the love was still there for it, but it was just no matter what track we went to, we just came back with damage.
Do you know, this is the sad thing because we've done a podcast previously with a young gentleman, should I say? I was going to say boy. And he's 22 and he was talking about sports as well and racism that he faced. And it's sad that it puts you off wanting to do that sport.
But the thing is, it's not just racing and it's not just sport. I mean, we spoke to some Saib Singh who did modeling and they're going through the same thing where it's hard to break through those barriers.
Yeah.
Now, as you're moving up, so you've gone to the Formula 3, how have you found that? Are you finding the same sort of mentality or because it's a step up, isn't it? Formula
Yeah,
2?
yeah. So the logical stepping stone. So from karts, then we would go into actual road car racing, which is like they classify as Genettas. So we go through there, like through the road car stage for maybe 1 or 2 years. Then we would actually start into single seaters, which is Formula 4, then F3. And for whatever reason, they decided there's like Asian F3, German F3. There's many types of F3s out there and F4s. So the F3 that we're trying to pursue is FIA F3, which is the top dog of all the F3 categories. So that F3 actually races with F1, which is the key to actually us getting the best exposure because it's broadcasted like Sky Sports and etc.
See, I didn't even. Okay, we're going to go back to the races. When you said the
Yep.
F3 and the F4, I was like, I didn't even know there were other. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even notice the F1. To be fair, the one
Yeah.
apparently is a very important thing, but I hadn't
Yeah.
realised there were stages which completely make sense. So, if you're after the bigger piece of the action, which you obviously are, which is exactly where you should
Yep.
be,
Yep.
with the fact that you went through what you did with the karting and the racism you had there, has it impacted you positively, negatively? Has it made you more resilient? Has it made you a bit more cautious? What's your mental status like now?
So from all the negativity that we've had in the past, I took it in as like I used that negativity to make me stronger in the head. So whatever happened in the past, I would take it out on like in my training, like run that extra mile, like do that extra 10 reps or whatnot, just so I could get that like relief out of it. So like you said, it brought up my resilience drastically because it is needed in, especially when we entered the single seater like chapter now. I need that resilience because it's a tough world on the track, like like as well as that, and also with Duke, like because of my lack of experience, that I haven't had enough time to like kind of be up there yet, which is why
How are you finding your competitors now in F3 in comparison to what you were finding in karting? And I know it's slightly harder. I mean, there's only so much you want to say since they're your competitors now. Whereas that karting, we could carry on.
No, because like all these competitors that I've been up against, they've just had a lot more experience behind the wheel. Like they've done 2 years of F4, they've done their junior year in F3, which is why they're up there. So they've had 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years of experience more than me. So when it comes to racing, it's experience which outranks a lot of things. And plus, like since they've got investors behind them, they're in the car every weekend. While for me, for instance, I'm out in the car like every 6 months.
Mm.
So once you've finished your degree, is it going to be full-time racing, or what's the next plans?
So the dream is to be a full-time racing driver, but at the same time that in the background I would want to be like a data engineer which actually works with the driver. So the person who gives me like my like where I need to improve is on that side of the job. That's my passion for it as well, to actually give the driver the data for them to improve. But since I'm going to be a driver as well, I may pick up on something that I can use for myself.
As a parent, I'm very proud that you're thinking beyond the racing and what you could do next. Well done.
Let's call that the Asian mentality.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing I just want to ask as we come towards the end of the podcast is, what support do you need from the Asian community? Because if this is something you're facing from people outside of the community, whether it's competitors, whether it's people at the top of the game, whether it's, the authorities, what support do you need from the South Asian community or the Asian community as a whole?
Ethnic wise is like kind of like, well, exposure, which is the main thing, and as well as that, it's like just it's pretty much just exposure to, like, to get my name up there. Like, there is a thing that's coming up through the ranks, like in racing, because like from my social media, for instance, 3 months ago I was on barely 300 followers. Like that kicked off as well, so that's when my following increased drastically, and especially when I put my like teaser trailer for the episode that you guys watched, that kicked off as well. So it's mainly a lot of exposure and just support and just spread the word out that there is an upcoming thing that's going to be up with the like in the top league.
And people should be supporting with investment, because unfortunately it always comes down to money as well. So anyone out
Yep,
there,
unfortunately, yeah, if anyone wants
invest.
to jump on board.
Yeah, do a shout out. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Just as we come to the end of this podcast, what advice would you give someone that would be looking at, in the same sort of position, at something like racing or any sport that's from the South Asian community? What's the advice you'd give them?
I would say, especially to, so I'm going to say two things. One, to like the kid who's going into the sport that they love most, keep doing it. Like, no matter how, if it starts off slow, just still stick with it. You'll get that experience in time when you keep doing it and then doing it, and then do your own thing, like in the background as well. Like, if you love it that much, you'll do anything for it, no matter how tired you get, and etc. And for like families who may think, yeah, may not see it, may not, stick with what the kid wants, because like he or she doesn't want probably that negativity to be around, that my parents are like wanting me to do this. So I'll say stick with what the kid wants at this stage, no matter if they're 6, 7, 10, 12 or anything. Just stick with them, because what I learned is having the family support is very underrated, especially in sports. So having the family there is going to change a lot of scenarios from my own experience.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Siran. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned a lot about the whole process, and the positives and the negatives. So thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you for having me on as well.
And we wish you all the best, and you will be in Formula One, no problem.
That's the goal.
Perfect. That's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.